Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us today for our Power in Partnerships webinar series. My name is Jessie Zarrow, and I have my two colleagues with me, Bill Kessler and Kelly McGillicott. We will be talking to you today all about archives, databases, genealogy, and more with Aspen Discovery. This month series focuses on partnerships where we can highlight different vendors and products that we work with. And so today we are going to focus on how libraries collect and share the stories and the histories of their communities. We'll focus on growing those stories, connecting history, and building those partnerships. So if you have questions that come up along the way, please use chat. We'll be keeping an eye on those and trying to answer those as we go along. We'll talk a little bit about in the beginning just what Aspen Discovery does as far as archives, genealogy, and databases, and how your libraries can promote them. And then we will do what we do best and love doing, is showing you all of our partner libraries and how they have utilized these features and what they're doing to promote them in the library. So we'll start by talking a little bit about archives. So the archives feature within Aspen Discovery allows libraries to create a search index for digital archives or local history collections. Aspen Discovery can connect to online archives that comply with OAI PMH, or essentially a way to harvest the data from places like Content DM or Omeka. In our example here, we have McKinney Public Library in Texas, and we'll be showing them as one of our examples. But this is just a great way that you can bring in either history, archival information, or digitized information. So when your patrons are searching for something, whether it be a newspaper article or they're looking for information about a flood that happened in the early 1900s, this is a way that they can bring all of those results into their search, not only what's in the catalog, but also what you might have as far as archival information. The next thing we'll talk about is genealogy. Now, with genealogy, records themselves can be included in the information right within Aspen Discovery. It's built into Aspen, and it's also visible through Explore More searches and combined results. The Aspen template allows you to enter in a person's name, birth date, age, marriages, if they served in a war or their veteran information, gender, race, residence, cause of death. You can even bring in burial and obituary information. And as we show you, you'll see how these images and public comments are included in these records. And this is just a really nice way for you to be able to tie that piece of history into the library. One of the examples that we're going to show you today is Uinta County Library. They were also very critical in the collaboration and the development of some of the genealogy features in Aspen Discovery. We all love that feeling of open source and how the power of the user's voice comes into play. And Uinta was part of that when they were developing the roles within the genealogy features within Aspen Discovery. They wanted a way for their volunteers to be a part of building the collection at Uinta. And so by giving that feedback to our team here, they were able to build those features in so volunteers could go and input that information into the system. So again, that open source collaboration just helps make the product better so you can get the most out of what you are using. The next thing we'll talk about is databases. So with databases, we have a few API connections to bring real-time results in. So currently we have EBSCO EDS, which is their discovery platform. We have EBSCO Host, and then we have ProQuest's Summon. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see an example for San Antonio College Library, where they're using EBSCO Host to bring those results within the system. This is a great way for your users to not only be able to see what is available print and e-content-wise, but also what you can bring in through those databases within the system. Now, we are going to show you other ways that you can highlight databases within Aspen Discovery, but these three right here have direct API integration, which means that that information is fed directly into those results. So this is a great way for your users to be able to see anything that's available within the collection.
And Jesse, there's a question from Aaron asking if there's plans to integrate other API databases.
Oh, that's a great question. So, as libraries communicate with the community, so developers and the team at Bywater Solutions for our partners, as we work with those vendors to see if the API connection is available to bring into Aspen Discovery, we will work with those vendors to make that connection possible. So, if you're one of our partners, you can submit a ticket in and we can look into that for you. All right, now that we talked about those resources, let's look on ways that you can promote them within your library. So Aspen gives you a couple great options. The first is to promote with placards. Whether you're promoting databases that you subscribe to, local history, archives, ancestry, museums, genealogy websites, local newspapers, this is a great way to be able to advertise what you have in your collection. I always say we do such a great job of curating collections in the library for our communities, but sometimes we have a hard time advertising to our constituents, to our users, what we have available. You know, we might have it on the website, we might have it on a beautiful print display within the library itself, but how do we get it in front of our users when they're searching in the catalog? Placards are a great way to do that. They're like strategic advertisements that can help you promote, whether it's a database or a resource or event. It's a great way to use keywords to trigger these placards within your searches. So you can show off things like maybe Gale databases if they do a search for some type of health, and you have those through your Gale databases. Or maybe they do a search for family history, and you pull up ancestry placards. It's just a great way that you can highlight things that are relevant in your collection and are available for your users. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a placard for Burleson Public Library in Texas. And if you do a search for history or local history, it brings you to a placard that shows you how you can explore Burleson's history. It takes you out to the portal of Texas history, where they can search Burleson News, the Dispatcher, and the Burleson Star. So this is just a really neat way to be able to show your users what you have available within the system. Another feature that you can use within Aspen Discovery is your web resources. Web resources help you promote your online content, and Aspen Discovery allows you an easy way to feature them right within the Discovery layer. You don't need any web design or coding skills to set these up. It's an easy form that you can fill out where you add that information in for your resources, and Aspen will generate this resource page that you can show off to your patrons. Also, you can organize it by categories. So this is super helpful for, think about things like art or maybe health or education, whatever it may be. You can create categories so it makes it easy for the end user to say, I'm looking for anything that deals with homework help. So whether you have tutorials or tutors or homework help or brain fuse, whatever it is, you can bring all of that information into one place so they can see that. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see our example for Hooksett Library in New Hampshire. And they do a beautiful job of tying in all of the resources they have, and then also by category. So again, just another way to promote those databases that you have available and have them show up in your Explore More section. Okay, so now I am going to pause and we are going to take a look at some of our examples that we have for our libraries that are using these resources. So the first one we're going to start with is Uintah County Library. And for those of you that may follow along or maybe do some cyber stalking after we get off this webinar, Uinta is a fantastic one to start with. They utilize a lot of the features that are available in Aspen, and they do a really nice job collaborating with their community. So here you'll see a direct link to Uinta County Library's Regional History Center. Now, they're utilizing a lot of great things within Aspen. One being the web builder. So they can come in and highlight local history help. They're using a collection spotlight to push out some of the titles that they have in the collection. You can see they're linking out to those web resources to talk a little bit about what they have available. And then, of course, they're highlighting some of those local PDFs and a couple more collection spotlights. So just a really great way that you can bring all of those archival, local information, newspaper archives into one spot to really highlight the archival information that you have available within the system. So you'll notice that when we perform our search, just like any other Aspen interface, we can either search by the catalog, we could search by those articles or databases, events, history and archive, or genealogy records. You also have the opportunity to do combined results. So this allows us to search for various collections and bring all of that information into one place. I also want to show you a little bit more about what they have highlighted on their main page. So here, if we come into the catalog, you'll be able to see some of that information where they're bringing in their archival information into our browse categories. So for all of us that are current Aspen users, we know what those browse categories look like when we're highlighting, let's say, new fiction or new titles in our collection. But now, boom, look at this. We can see photographs, maps, and even information for local interests. How cool is that? So somebody who's really diving into history can just come in here and explore pioneers and adventurers, local interests, and even dinosaurs. So it's just a really cool way for you to be able to highlight this information and get it in front of them. The next example we're going to show off is Chattanooga Public Library. Chattanooga Public Library does a really nice job bringing in some of their local information. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to do a search this time in history and archives. And this time I'm going to look for something for Lookout Mountain. So, maybe I'm getting ready to go to the Appalachians and I just want to do a search to see what history we have. And you'll notice that that brings back my search. You'll notice my facets are a little bit different on the left-hand side. Under my narrow results, I can see options to narrow down by collection, creator, or even subject within the system. In the center of the screen, I'm going to see those results for Point Lookout on Lookout Mountain. As I scroll down a little bit further, I can see more in the Explore More section, which takes me into catalog results, as well as the full results within there. And for any of those that I click on, I'll be able to go right into that digital collection. So now I can see what Lookout Mountain looks like back from the late 1800s into the early 1900s. So it's just incredible that all of this information is just coming right from that one search that I can perform right within the catalog itself. The next example we're going to pull up here is Burleson Public Library. Now, if we saw that example when we were watching the demonstration we were doing earlier, we saw them for their use in the placards. So in this case, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start right in my regular keyword library catalog search, and I'm going to do a search for local history. Maybe I want to look at flooding or hurricanes that may have taken place within the city, or I'm just looking for any local history. My daughter's in 4th grade and maybe having to do a diorama on local history, right? I want to see what the library has. So this is going to be a great way to see that information. Again, Burleson does such a nice job of highlighting the information, and this is a great example of how a placard can work for your library. So they're using this to promote their local history. And you'll notice if I click on that, it'll take me right out to that portal of Texas history where I can begin that search. So again, just a great way for the library to be able to promote the Burleson area newspaper collection that their patrons have access to. Now, I want to come back and I want to do another search within here just so you can see how this all works. So I'm going to do a search for Paris, Texas fire. And I am going to search just in history and archives. And we're going to take a look at that. Now you'll notice here, again, my facets are a little bit different. So you have that flexibility to either have those facets open or collapse by default. Now in the center of the screen, we're going to see those results. Views of the Paris, Texas fire. We have a link to the Texas Federal Building and the post office. And then of course, in Explore More, we have a link that takes us right out to the catalog for some of the true stories and tragedies of the survival. So just another great example to take a look at if you're interested in turning on history and archives. Our next example is from McKinney Public Library in Texas. Shout out to Ed. I saw you on this webinar earlier, highlighting some of the great things that they've done. One of the things we want to highlight here is the use of Aspen's Web Builder. So they are using Aspen's Web Builder to promote genealogy within their collection. So if we take a look at this, you can see right on the front page here, we're at the genealogy page that they've built. And as I scroll through, we can see all of that information. They have a beautiful collection spotlight highlighting the National American Indian Heritage Month. As we scroll down a little bit further, it gives us information where we can quickly go out to view indexes, the local genealogy society, research forms, and then of course, just a quick link that shows some of the online resources that are available. So this is just a great way that you can utilize Aspen's Web Builder to highlight that unique collection that you have within the system. We also want to highlight another feature that McKinney is using, and they are also using the Web Builder to highlight some of their historical newspapers. So if we take a look here, you can see them by time frame for the McKinney Democrat, the Examiner, and of course the Courier Gazette. And so this is just a great way that they can highlight what they have access to. So if you were growing up and you want to see something that happened in the fair back in the late 60s, you could jump in there and see if you can find that information for that particular resource. So again, two great features to utilize Aspen to highlight those unique collections you have within the system. The next example we're going to show you is Spanish Fork Library in Utah. Again, they are utilizing the History and Archives feature that allows you to bring in information. And this time we're going to do a quick search for the Colorado River. And you'll notice I'm getting that same predictive text as I perform my search. And when those results come back, again, we'll be able to see that information in the center of the screen. But one thing we want to highlight here is just what a nice job Aspen does in utilizing all of those resources that we have available. So we can see there's quite a few titles that are hitting a match in that Explore More section, just showing the rich resources that your library has available for that search that they performed within the system. Another great resource to take a look at. Our next example we're going to show you here is one of our most recent libraries that went live on Aspen Discovery, and that is San Antonio College. They have done a beautiful job at integrating all of the things, and we are going to show you how they have integrated EBSCOhost databases. So you'll notice right from this main screen, we can see those browse categories. And we're going to come over here and we're going to select that articles and databases. So from here, I'm going to come in and I am just going to search for the Alamo. You'll notice that we're getting those predictive text options as they come in. And as I perform that search, I now have EBSCOhost results that are coming in via real time via that API into the system. So if I am a school student or faculty or professor and I'm looking for something specific, I can begin my search right here in one place. And you'll notice here as I scroll through, I can see those results. My facets, of course, are going to look a little bit different because now it's going to match those features that are coming from the EBSCOhost databases. So if I want to narrow down by, let's say, source or subject, or even the type of geography or journal that I'm looking for, I can see all of that information in one place. The other beauty of being able to see this is I can also see what's available in the catalog, if there's any events going on, and of course, if there's any matches within the catalog itself. So again, I'm seeing all resources in one place. How cool is that you can see events too, right? So now you're getting everything that the library has, those databases, print catalog, and anything from those databases that show up within that match. All right, hang with me. We have a couple more here to show off. This is the House of Lords, who is using Aspen Discovery, and they have their connection set up for ProQuest's summons. So this allows you to bring in information from ProQuest databases if you use the Summon Discovery service. So we're going to start over here, and again, I'm going to look at my drop downs. We're going to do articles and databases here, and we're going to do a search for copyright law. And as we begin that search, when that information comes back, we will be able to see the integration with Summon. So again, if your library is using this discovery service with ProQuest, you'll be able to bring that information directly in. Again, you'll notice on the left-hand side, those facets, again, having some of them open or collapsed by default, but you'll notice that it does give me the opportunity to narrow down my results, whether I'm looking for a particular language or resource, I can see that information right away. And again, one of the most powerful features, being able to see that explore more, where we can jump into other resources that are available within the system. Okay. My next option that we have here is Okaloosa County Public Library Cooperative. And we want to show off just how they're using some of their services to promote things like homework help right within the system. So I'm going to do just a plain search for homework help within the system. And again, maybe I'm a student, maybe I'm a parent coming in here to see what resources are available. And as I perform that search, you'll notice the first thing we get here is a placard. This is a great way to see what's available. I can see that we have live online tutoring, a writing lab, test prep, and of course, learning resources. And this is just a nice way to be able to come in here. If I click on that, of course, it takes me out where I can see that this is connected to BrainFuse. I can log in and get homework help right away. I can see that that live tutoring help is through 2 p.m. to 11, and it just gives me that information right away. I love being able to see that and all of that information that's available. The other thing I want to point out is under their research and learn, they have a link that takes you to all tools. This is what they're using to highlight those web resources. So we talked a little bit about how we can use that promotion and look at all of that information that is available within the system. So again, if we come back and look at here, we can see all of that information. We talked about how can we categorize that information? You know, whether you're looking for a new career, I hit that job seekers, it shows me what's available in there. You know, maybe I do want to look at local history. Again, it's showing us all of that information that is available within the system. Maybe I want reference. We can see all of that information in here. This is always one that's near and dear to my heart because when I was a librarian, we had access to, of course, the Florida Electronic Library. I'm sure most of your states have this where you get a package from your state library with Gale where they provide databases for this service. And again, this is just a phenomenal way to be able to essentially provide that service for your users. If I click on that, of course, it's going to show us a little more information about the Florida Electronic Library. And then, of course, I can click out and see just what's available through that service. So again, just another way to highlight those databases that we do have access to through those web resources. And I'm going to come back to my homework help search. As I'm scrolling through, you'll also notice in my Explore More section, those databases also show up because they're in my web resources. So again, phenomenal way to be able to highlight and promote the databases that are available to your users. All right, One more example. This is Hooksett Library in New Hampshire, and we just wanted to show off again for this one just how nice they did with the web resources. The clean look shows some of the featured resources that they are highlighting: Ancestry, Consumer Reports, some of the ones that we get a lot of questions about. Libby, Newsbank, of course. And of course, right from here, the user can click on that information. It will give them just a little more details about what's available within that database. And then they can, of course, link right out. You'll notice on the right-hand side, they've identified the audiences and, of course, the categories that highlight this information. So again, if I come down here and I'm looking for local history, it'll show everything that ties into that information. So I know Bill was passing along those links, and Kelly, as we were going through and highlighting some of these resources. These libraries have just done a phenomenal job of sharing that information for what they're doing with, archives, genealogy, and databases. So definitely take a look. If you're one of our partners and you want to set something up, please submit a ticket. And we'll also highlight some of our next upcoming series in our Powership in Partners. So next month for Aspen Discovery, we will have Aspen Discovery in the community on September 12th. And we will have a live recording from the Cohacon conference in Montreal coming up in September, and that will be on September 30th. We have a link here if you're interested or have not signed up for these yet. You can scan that QR code and that will take you out where you can register for those webinar series to either watch live or get a copy of that recording. And as always, if you have questions and would like to set up Aspen Discovery or just questions in general, you can contact Bill. All right. Do we have any questions that we can answer?
If a library is part of a consortium, can they do this separately from the consortium? And what permissions or anything do they need?
Yeah, they can set that information up. If you want to look at Uinta County Public Library, they are part of a larger system with Wabash and others. And so that's a great way that they can set it up. We can share one of the Aspen Weeklies that have information about setting up your permissions and archival information with you as well. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We'll send a recording out of this presentation and we hope to see you at the next one.